Welcome to Redefine How You Age, helping women 50 and over build strength, vitality, confidence, and longevity. Hi, I'm Donna Hetrick, certified clinical nutritionist, personal trainer, and blood chemistry analyst. Thank you for joining me today. And if you were with me for my premiere episode, welcome back. Today, we are going to get into the science behind protein and talk about which ones are going to help you change your body composition the fastest. We are also going to talk about the queen of amino acids called Leucine, which actually triggers muscle protein synthesis. How much do you need of it per meal, and where do you get it? And then we're also going to strategically look at how you get what you need in the way of protein and leucine from both animal and plant-based proteins. You can do it with both, but you've got to be a bit more strategic when it comes to plant-based proteins. Now, last time we talked about a personal protein formula that you could use to determine how much protein your body needs in a day. And I want to put that formula back up on the screen for you in case you didn't join me last time or you need a quick reminder, because this is really important to hone in on what your needs are. You're going to take your body weight in grams your body weight in kilograms times 1.2 and 1.6. So you're going to have to convert your weight from pounds to kilograms, and that's going to give you a range. On the lighter end, 1.2 is for someone who's not quite as active, maybe sedentary. And on the 1.8 is someone who is doing a progressive resistance training program, is active, on the move, on the go, and needs to have higher protein levels throughout the day. All right, so now that we've got that straight again, we are going to now get into what is going on in the protein world. I'm super excited about it, actually, that it's getting its day, honestly. The grocery store, the food manufacturers are taking advantage of it, and it's showing up in places that we don't historically see protein, such as cereal boxes and salad kits, but it's happening. And I just want to make sure that you are understanding where you should be getting your top tier proteins from, and it's not from Cheerios protein, unfortunately. On the front of the box, it's 11 grams of protein, and that's the cereal plus the milk. Regular Cheerios has 5 grams of protein, plus the milk is probably about 9. So it's not that big of a difference. They've only added a little bit of pea protein isolate to the Cheerios protein. The real bummer is if you turn the box over, it's got 17 grams of sugar. Real Cheerios or regular Cheerios has 1 gram of sugar. Cheerios protein's got 17 grams. So it's really not a good option. And I probably don't have to tell you this, but it is not a good source of protein to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Now we take a look at these salad kits that we're seeing that are coming out that are more protein forward. These are actually redeemable, but I do want to point things out, such as the serving size. If you look at the package, it says 20 grams of protein per container. Most people do not eat the entire bag of salad at one sitting. Most people will eat 2.5, it's like 2.5 to 3.5 servings in that salad kit. So even if you eat half of it, you're only getting 10 grams of protein. And if you eat less, you're getting less protein. Now, how can you redeem this? You can add a protein anchor to it. You can add a chicken breast, a salmon fillet, a piece of steak, some tofu. So you can make this work. I just want you to make sure that you're not falling for the all the food manufacturing hype that you're getting all the protein you need in that salad kit, because you're not. All right, so let's take a look at where you should be getting your proteins. It's age old. There's not anything new. It's all the proteins that you grew up with, that you're familiar with. These are your top tier animal protein sources. So your beef, your chicken, your lamb, your turkey. If you're going to eat pork, my recommendation is to eat pasture raised. On the dairy end of things, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, some whey protein isolate because it's better tolerated than concentrate. Eggs are a good protein source. And then your seafoods and your fish also fall within that category. Now, if we're talking about someone following a plant-based or vegan vegetarian diet, now we're looking at things like the soy family, tofu and tempeh and soy milk and soy protein isolates, pea protein isolate, which is kind of new to the game, but very tolerated. And a lot of people like that in a protein shake, for example. Mycoprotein, which is a little unusual, actually comes from a microfungus. If you are familiar with the term or the name brand QUORN, it's those products. Hemp protein, brown rice protein, quinoa, lentils, beans, chickpeas. So these are where you're going to get the majority of your protein sources from, whether you are animal-based diet or you are leading a plant-based protein diet. So now I want to bring in another factor, something called the leucine factor, that is really important and does play a very large role in what you get out of the proteins that you put in your body. Just because you're getting 100 grams of protein a day doesn't mean that you're stimulating muscle protein synthesis. And I see this happening on a regular basis. So leucine is the amino acid that triggers muscle protein synthesis. It helps activate your muscle repair. It helps to support your strength. It protects against sarcopenia, which we need to do at all costs. And we need to be getting a minimum of 2.5 to 4 grams per meal. Now that 4 grams would be for somebody who has been very sedentary, not kept up with their strength training for a period of 20 or so years, somebody who has maybe suffered from an accident or an injury and has had to be sedentary during the recovery period, or someone who has had a long-term illness. Those individuals are going to need more of the 4 gram per meal than the 3 gram per meal, which is what we typically say 2.5 to 3 grams for a healthy, functioning individual that doesn't have any extenuating health circumstances. So at 50 and over, just like we require more protein than we did at 30, we require more leucine at each meal, and we call it the leucine threshold. So we need to be very diligent about hitting both of those points, the amount of grams of protein you need per meal and the amount of leucine, that 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine. So it's an easy one to differentiate between the Cheerios protein and the chicken breast. Obviously, the chicken breast is going to be the better choice. Where it gets a little tricky, though, is with plant-based proteins. 1.5 cups of lentils. It gives you the same amount of protein as a 4-ounce chicken breast. But what's different? The leucine threshold is not met. So you may be getting the protein, but you're not getting the leucine. Therefore, if you don't add more leucine to that meal, you are not going to be stimulating muscle protein synthesis the way that you want to. So plant proteins have a lower leucine density overall, and they have a lower digestibility score, we call it. So it presents a bit of a challenge for all of us at any age, but specifically at 50 and over, when the demands for protein are greater and our bodies don't respond to our protein sources the way that they did when we were younger. So let me be clear, I am not an expert on vegetarianism or veganism, but I do enjoy a lot of plant-based foods in my diet, and I have learned to increase the threshold of the leucine complement to make sure that I'm getting the muscle protein synthesis from what I'm eating. But I want to share with you one of the reasons why I'm flushing this out is that I see many women 50 and older who come to me that are following largely plant-based diets, and they are unable to keep up their lean muscle, and they are unable to manage their weight. They're having difficulty managing their blood sugar regulation, and they are unable to keep their body compositions the way that they want them. So I want to give you some strategies that you can use if you are following a plant-based diet so that you are getting what you need to stimulate that muscle, because you can do it. You just have to be more on point. So let's take a look now at the leucine chart that I put together for you. This is also going to be in a PDF attached to the show notes today. So I want to encourage you to print this out and have it with you as you're planning your meals and just kind of getting a handle on this, because I know for many of you, it's going to be new information. So look at the chicken breast and the turkey breast. You don't have to do anything. You get 4 ounces of those, you get the amount of protein you need, you get the amount of leucine you need. Lean beef, that's an interesting one. I honestly would not have guessed that without seeing the numbers. We think of beef as being, everything about protein, but it is a little lacking on the leucine. So you have to increase your amount. So I would say that you'd need to go for 5 ounces of beef instead of 4. Tuna, you need to eat the whole can. A whole can of tuna has 33 grams of protein, and that'll pop you up into that 3.0 gram range for the leucine. Now, here's where we get into areas where we're not getting what we need, and that is eggs. At 2 eggs, you're only getting 1 gram of leucine. And if you wanted to eat all eggs to get the amount of protein and leucine in a meal, you'd need to eat 6 eggs. That's a lot of fat, a lot of calories, and most of us at this age cannot handle that. So lamb and pork are great on the protein. They need to be bumped up a little bit on the leucine. So just increase your serving sizes to 5 ounces. Now, when we start looking at things like protein powders and some of our vegetarian or plant-based foods, we are going to see that the leucine factor as a whole, look on the whole leucine side of that chart, it is all low. So what you need to do is up your serving size, or you need to combine different proteins together to meet the leucine threshold. The only one on there that meets it as is whey protein isolate. Cottage cheese is another one. That's a super portable, easy, great. So if you're a fan of cottage cheese, you can have a cup of that at any time and meet your leucine threshold. So familiarize yourself. Most of us eat about 4 or 5 different types of protein in a week. So it's not like this is something that you're going to have to constantly be looking up. You do need to spend the time to familiarize yourself with the ones that you're eating now and figure out how to get what you need, how to supplement if you need to, which is a better strategy than just going without it. All right, so let's look at some ways that we can hit the leucine threshold on a plant-based diet. So combine complementary protein powders. So one of the best ways or easiest ways to get your protein and leucine complement is whey protein isolate. It's just so easy. But if you are a a vegetarian, vegan, plant-based diet lifestyle, you are not going to want to ingest animal protein products. So instead, you would look at combining 20 grams of soy protein and 20 grams of pea protein. And that will give you the hit that you need to stimulate those muscles. You also need to scale your servings. You're going to need to look at like that lentils. 1.5 cups of lentils gave you your grams of protein, but it did not give you your leucine. So increase the amount of lentils you're eating at a time, or add something to that is going to bump up that threshold. And the last one is something that most people are not familiar with, and that's just taking a single leucine supplement. You take it with the meal where you know you are not getting it in your food. The ideal is to get it in your food, but if you're someone that absolutely cannot ingest that much, or you have dietary restrictions of some form or fashion, this is a good way to offset that, and it is something that you can rely on, and it does work. Now, if we are going to look at strategies to build a muscle and lose fat and just fend off the aging process, now we are talking about strategies like making sure that you get an anchor with each meal that has amount of high leucine in it that you need. So whether it's your whey, your chicken, your lean beef, your animal proteins, if you're doing a plant-based, then we need to be a little bit more strategic, right? We need to make sure that we know what's in there and how we need to bump it up. You're looking at getting 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine per meal, 3 to 4 times a day. And you are timing your whey protein isolate shakes or your soy and your pea protein shakes after your workouts. This is an age-old bodybuilder trick, but it works. It works so great. I recently started doing it after my one really heavy-duty strength training workout a week, and my numbers on my body metrics with my Hume Smart Scale are changing, going up, and that's the only thing that I changed. So it really does work, and I highly encourage you to turbocharge your muscle protein synthesis by using a protein shake like a soy isolate with the pea, or a whey isolate protein shake, because it really does work well for you. All right, now we're going to talk about how to reduce fat. So this is an interesting one. Yes, here's our slide about whey protein. This is fantastic technique. And also too, if you're having a hard time getting your protein in throughout the day, this is something you struggle with, and a lot of women do. This is something that you could start with. If you did nothing more than just turbocharge your muscles after a heavy workout, this will make a difference for you. So I highly encourage you to incorporate this into your lifestyle. It really works. So a lot of women come to me about reducing their fat, changing their body composition. And when they come in, not one woman has ever said to me, I'm here to gain muscle mass. They come in to lose body fat, okay? But I want to just accentuate how critical it is for you to add on to your muscle mass. And in doing so, you reduce your body fat percentage. That's where it's all at. That is the magic. That is the fix to this. And we talked about this in the last episode, but I wanted to re-emphasize because it's really that critical. So if you are trying to reduce your fat, you want to focus on those proteins that have less fat in them, less caloric hit for you. You want to add one egg with some egg whites. You want to eat chicken breast and tuna fish. You want to add some whey protein isolate or other plant-based proteins to your Greek yogurt or your cottage cheese. It is so critical if you are on a calorie restricted diet, or you're not getting your basal metabolic rate because you're on a GLP-1, for example. It is so critical that you get the amount of leucine you need at each meal. This should be your number one goal and priority while you're using fat-reducing medication like a GLP-1. So focus on that. It's going to make a big difference. And then the other thing I want you to really think about is this reduction in fat is kind of like in conjunction with building muscle. I really want you focusing more on being strong, building muscle, and the fat reduction part of it is going to come in conjunction with building that muscle, particularly if you are paying attention to your calories and eating those leaner protein sources. All right. If you are just an individual that wants to age healthfully and you've read about sarcopenia or you're experiencing it and you really don't want that to happen to you and you want to maintain your muscle, then making sure that you're getting some whey protein isolate throughout your day is extremely helpful. This is evidence-based. I've worked with elderly individuals where we have gotten 2 whey protein shakes in between meals, and that works amazing to help get some of that muscle built back up again. Also want to encourage you to do this 3 to 4 times a day. You have those opportunities to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Take advantage of it. And the other thing is to fortify lower meals with leucine-rich additions. So you're adding that whey protein isolate maybe to your Greek yogurt or your cottage cheese. Works really well. So let's not make some of the common mistakes that I see people making all the time. So let me give you some heads up on that. People often will be eating healthfully. They have their yummy salad that has garbanzo beans and chickpeas, or I guess they're the same thing, some almonds or different things. And I'll say, but where's the beef? Where's the chicken? Where's the salmon? So you must make sure that you have a high protein and leucine anchor added onto that healthy salad, or it's not going to do the job for you in terms of getting your muscle up, keeping it up, and managing your weight. Another mistake is to not understand that your plant-based protein does not contain enough leucine to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Read those labels, look at that chart, do an assessment, and figure out how you need to bump that up if you're not there now. The other one is front-loading protein at one meal. I grew up in the 60s. We had cereal for breakfast, a lunch meat sandwich on white bread for lunch with some chips and an apple. And then when we got home at night, that's when the real deal happened. We had the roast, the chicken, the pork chops, had all the protein. That's not the lifestyle that you want to follow now. You want to have 25 to 35 grams of protein at breakfast, at lunch, and at dinner on the regular. All right. That's what's really going to make the difference for you. And then, of course, just ignoring the leucine factor altogether. It does make a difference. I truly have seen women who are getting 100 grams of protein a day, but their sources are low in leucine and they're not stimulating the muscle. And so it's resulting in low lean muscle, higher body fat percentage, inability to regulate blood sugar levels, and a changing body composition that they're very frustrated about. So making sure that you take these things into consideration can help you make sure this doesn't happen to you. All right, so you need an action plan. So the first thing you want to do is take an audit. Look at what you've been eating for the past couple of days. Most of us eat the same things over and over again every day, right? So take a peek at that. What are your protein requirements? Go back to that formula at the very beginning. What are your protein requirements? Are you hitting them? And then more importantly, are you hitting your leucine threshold? And if you're not, start by adding things to your daily diet that are going to bump those numbers up to where they need to be effective. I am telling everyone to use Claude, ChatGPT, any AI that you're using to create a menu plan for yourself. Let it do the heavy lifting. Tell it how many grams of protein you need in a day, how you would like that split out over 3 or 4 meals. Tell it what your protein choices are so it gives you things that you like. If you're specific about what you want at breakfast and lunch, tell it so that it gives you what you can work with. And while you're at it, tell it that you want to get 25 grams of fiber a day as well. So then you got the whole thing worked out. And when you get tired of that, go back and tell it, I'm tired of this, give me something different. It gives you a plan to follow, and it makes you more on point with what you need to be striving for and keeps you thinking strategically about making those limits. I highly encourage you to utilize AI in that fashion. All right. I guess my biggest thing to wrap up with today is to encourage you not to get overwhelmed and to utilize things like AI to help with that menu plan. Add those proteins that you need to get your body where you want it to be. Optimize that leucine intake. Next time, I am so excited that I will have my friend and colleague, Chris Glass, coming to meet with me. She is a former bodybuilder and power lifter, and she now works as a personal trainer and helps women every day with creating muscle mass and showing them how to do it and how to be successful with it. So she will be with us next time. So until then, get your leucine on, age strong, and live long. Thanks for listening to the Redefine How You Age podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with a friend or two. If you would like more information about me, Donna Hetrick, visit my website at donnaphetrick.com.